Good evening, 49er faithful. Welcome to another episode of the Sneakerhead call-in show. I am your host, Rob Schuh, hence the Sneakerhead wordplay. Happy St. Paddy's Day to everybody. I am sporting the Niners St. Paddy's Day gear. That's why the green. I'm not doing any, Seattle green and blue color scheme here. This is all Niners all day. That's how we rock on St. Paddy's Day. When you're Irish like I am, you've got to embrace St. Paddy's Day. You've got to have the flair, and it's got to be Niners related. It is always got to be Niners related. Speaking of green, talking a little bit about money and talking a little bit about the color of my Palo Alto Vikings, proud alumni of Palo Alto High School, as is Devonta Adams. And Devonta Adams, proud alumni of Palo Alto High School, is feeling substantially wealthier today after a blockbuster trade from Green Bay over to Las Vegas. Supposedly, Aaron Rodgers knew about this the entire time. I thought it was wild. To me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense in keeping Aaron Rodgers, but letting go of Devonta Adams. But we will get into that in a little bit. We've got folks here waiting to get in the lobby. If you want to call in and you are a sneakerhead here on the channel, I am going to drop the link into the chat. What's going to happen is I'm going to take this link that'll take you to the community tab of my YouTube page. And again, if you're a sneakerhead on the channel, wait a minute, we got the newest member. Mario is the latest sneakerhead here on the channel. So if you are a sneakerhead like Mario, I just dropped the link in the chat. I guess the chat is actually right over there. At least on my screen it is. 502 from Rob Schuh. There is the link. If you're a sneakerhead, go there, get in the waiting room. I will try to keep it at about 7 minutes per person so that if you're waiting, you don't have to wait too long. I want to say thank you to Mario for being the latest sneakerhead here on the channel. Getting into a couple of comments before we start the show. Stivers 209 just showing some love. Raphael 562 coming in to say hello to everyone. Chris is going to be our first guest, and he's got Baker Mayfield on his mind. Ben V coming in. I love our new cornerback already. Ward said the Niners media asked some whack-ass questions. Yes, I've called dibs on whack-ass questions with Rob Schuh as my new segment that I'm going to introduce to the channel. I think anytime I do an interview with a player, it's going to be whack-ass questions with Rob Schuh. Just too perfect. Just too perfect. Charles coming in, wanting to know what's the timeline on the Watson decision. Man, it seems like indefinite on the Watson decision. It is crazy. E. Kim, a usual call-in, says, hey, Rob, not calling in tonight, seeing Tool in concert. I just like seeing, public spheres getting back together. I got a notification from the San Francisco 49ers today, an email stating, hey, concerts are back at Levi's. I won't go to any of them because I'm up in Portland, but I'm glad to know people are getting back in person. It is phenomenal. Love it. Kurt coming in at Rob. Theo and I say hi from middle of LA traffic. Kurt and Theo, hello. Enjoy that traffic. Don't get that road rage. Just think, whoosah. Yes, just calm energy. Channel that into whatever you want to happen within free agency and project it. Make it happen. Let's get out of the concerts. I got concerts on the brain. Let's get out of the comments and get into the calls. Chris Royal coming into the stream. Chris, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
It's good to see you too. I'm doing pretty well.
Nice. What has got you? This has been a pretty wild free agency period. Maybe not so for the San Francisco 49ers. It's unfortunately been sort of quiet. And I think the frustration for some 49er faithful has slowly but surely risen. And we've seen a lot of movement that isn't 49er related. What are some of those things that have caught your eye during this free agency period?
Well, I think the biggest one is that Jimmy Garoppolo's still on the roster.
Yes, he is.
But, you called it a few days ago and said that, our organization's just crazy enough to, keep him around for a little bit.
Yes.
But
they really are. And once that, I think I was guilty. I think I was guilty of having at least used the words the 49ers have to trade Jimmy Garoppolo by the start of the league year, which was 1 p.m. on Wednesday. I do believe that. I also clarified, I mean, they have technically other options, but it just felt that they really should trade Jimmy by the start of the league year. Not that they had to, and they did the other option. They got underneath the cap by restructuring deals, and quite frankly, they would have needed to restructure those deals anyway because they needed to get to 1:01 Pacific Standard Time before they would have actually been able to trade Jimmy, even if a deal had been in place.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's interesting that that there wasn't any suitors. I think, like a bunch of people have said, I think they've kind of overplayed their hand with him. I think they were hoping for something a little bit bigger than what they were getting offered. And I kind of feel like it's coming back to bite us on our, behind.
Yeah. I believe they have overplayed their hand. I believe that John Lynch was getting significant interest when he was out there at the combine. That was the rumor we were hearing. That was what he put out. And you would think maybe he got a little comfortable. Maybe he said, oh, we're going to play a couple of these teams against one another, really drive up this bidding. So far, the end result isn't what we want.
Yeah. And I think, I think there's been a lot of quarterback movement that hasn't really been foreseen necessarily. So,
right.
A lot of dominoes are falling in a bunch of different places that, you couldn't really projected. So
no doubt. I didn't think that Russell Wilson was going anywhere. I'll be honest. I had that as fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. And so I figured, well, Russ has been talking about wanting out of Seattle for a while, and all of a sudden they say he's not going anywhere. So I didn't buy it, but it felt like that and the Brady news coming out of retirement so early in the offseason really threw this thing for a loop.
Yeah, for sure. So the Desean Watson thing, I got to get your opinion on this, and it's kind of bothering me. People are calling for him, and I don't really want him just because of the character. There's character concerns there.
Yep.
I know he's, a top 5 quarterback easily.
Yes.
But, just because he wasn't convicted of anything, they didn't press any charges, which means, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not any kind of lawyer or anything, but I'm assuming that, if there's evidence down the road, they could revisit it and press charges if they wanted to.
Most definitely. The way in which the grand jury works is the grand jury is there to indict someone on charges, but the absence of an indictment does not mean that there couldn't be an indictment further on. Because he was never indicted, there's no double jeopardy, right? He's not been tried and found innocent. He has never been tried. So certainly if new evidence came out, he could be, they could go before a grand jury again. And if my point on this is if any of these details begin to come out in news stories as these people, as these women, these defendants decide that they want their story out there, some of these details could absolutely result in a suspension by the NFL. I mean, he may already be getting a suspension. They may already have a 6-game suspension in mind just for the details that are out to this point. So certainly it is still undecided with Desean.
Yeah, and I think that's why, in my personal opinion, I think we should just stay away from it because it would really, I don't think we have the capital to really trade for him anyway.
No.
Unless if he made it abundantly clear that we're the only team he's going to go to. Even then, I think Houston would just sit on him, if they didn't want to, if they weren't getting the kind of, capital they wanted.
Yes.
So I think that's why, in my opinion, I think we just stay away from it, because it would really suck to get, halfway through a season and then other details start coming out, and then we just lose them. And then you don't know how long you would lose them for. I mean, we could be up shit creek with no quarterback,
Yeah. It could be a nightmare scenario. You don't want to spend too long chasing after something that you don't know could be an eventual possibility, right? The unknown is just too big there. I'm with you that there's enough smoke here, even if there isn't a fire, even if he is never convicted of anything, even if he's not suspended by the league. To me, there's enough to just say, I'd rather stay away. I understand people that say talent trumps everything. I guess I just don't feel that way. Character does matter. I want to have pride in my organization. I want to have pride in the people that I root for. And I'm all for innocent until proven guilty. And let's be honest, there's enough out there that, it seems something untoward did occur with some of those instances.
Yeah. I mean, 20 something gals.
Right.
I mean, something, it's unbelievable to think that they're all innocent, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Right. That he didn't do something to offend some of those. Because again, none of them have, I see the word rapist tossed around, and I'm not defending Desean Watson, but no one has accused him of rape, right? I mean, it is sexual assault. And if you read the cases, like it's weird. The details are, they just aren't all that comfortable to go through. And so again, to me, it's just stay away from it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I feel you.
The only other thing I kind of wanted to ask is with the available free agents that are out right now, is there anybody that you would feel like you would want to really the 49ers to take a look at?
The Fletcher Cox news to me was something that totally fascinates me. I would love it if the 49ers kick the tires there. I feel like it's out of our price range at this point. I would love if we did kick the tires again on Lael Collins off of Dallas, another cap casualty that got cut. Although, as I'm reading it, the Bengals are attempting to make a sweetheart pitch to him right now. And so I think there's at least a chance he doesn't leave that free agent visit in Cincinnati, and I've not seen us reported as interested. And then there are a couple of wide receivers out there. After the news of the Allen Robinson acquisition, the signing by the Rams, it was indicated that the Niners had been in conversations with Robinson's camp. And so that puts into light a different level of wide receiver. We had heard the reports of all the return men they were linked to, but now that we've got a higher end wide receiver, I do wonder if a Juju Smith-Schuster or someone else might be a fit.
Yeah, I definitely like Juju for sure. I think he'd fit on the team quite nicely, actually.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about Zadarius? Do you think he'd be overpriced?
I tend to think so, based on the deal that he signed and then backed out of with Baltimore. But, again, I mean, it's all how you structure it. I believe this cap is going to skyrocket. And so I think it's okay if you backload these deals.
Okay.
That's my feeling on it.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking.
I love it. Chris, I am going to go down to rotate into that Niner guy, but we've been working on this roundtable thing. If you want to stick around to the end, you are more than welcome to. And if we get the roundtable going, I'll try to work you into it.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Love it. All right, Chris, we will see you in a bit. Just got to get to a couple of super chats here before I bring in the next guest. I'm obsessed with making sure that I am properly labeled as I do this. So there, got to get it up. Got to get the icon. There it is. Icon right up there. And the name up in the other corner. Yes. Let's get into these super chats real quick before we bring in that Niner guy. Keith Murphy bringing in Devonta Adams, traded to the Raiders. Huge deal, 5 years, like $28.5 million per year. I mean, that's the initial figures. Let's see what the guaranteed money is. But yes, that is big breaking news on Devonta Adams. Also, we'll point out JG1 putting it in there. I saw this before coming on. The Saints did sign Kentavious Street. The Niners did not tender him as a restricted free agent, so they were okay with that. Aaron from 49ers First Takes. What's up, Aaron? Good to see you. Coming in. My question for you, how frustrated are you with another lackluster free agency period? Seeing how the Rams just won the Super Bowl, yet still go all in. Many fans, not just me, are frustrated. I think the frustration is warranted. My interpretation of the 49ers actions to this point is that they are they are hedging their bets a bit. I think that they cannot with certainty know what they have in Lance. I think they are confident from what they say and from the messages that they put out as an organization, but they have flirted with some other quarterbacks, not in the way they flirted with quarterbacks last offseason, but they have been linked to some things and they've shut some of it down very quickly and others have lingered. I think to me, when I am, by the way, someone called out my frequency of using that phrase. So now when I say to me, I'm going to think of it every time. But again, when I think of the 49ers, the moves that they've made to this point, I almost wonder if they are being a little conservative, if they want to wait and see what they truly have in Lance before going all in. So you could see a situation where the 49ers are moderately aggressive in the remainder of free agency, where I do think there will be some value and there are still some phenomenal pieces out there. But a mid-season trade, if they confirm what they believe, that Trey Lance is the guy and we're winning in the season, I could see them being more aggressive in season, adding some pieces once they're more sure of where this team is headed. Because we all assume that they're NFC Championship contenders or Super Bowl contenders. But until they show that with a different quarterback, it's fair to wonder. Innovative energy coming in. I'm over this front office fumbling away free agency year after year. It's no wonder we keep coming up short. Facts are the top 5 spenders in free agency improve on average by 3 wins. Lynch has to go. I'm done. I get the frustration. I absolutely do. I can't agree with your assessment of John Lynch. I also have seen plenty of teams, the Jacksonville Jaguars as the biggest spenders. Will they improve by 3 games? Yeah, but that's because they were trash last year. And I think that their quarterback is going to take the next step. I wouldn't want to have spent the dollars that they spent. I am okay with being aggressive. I don't want to go over the top. I like adding 1 or 2 select pieces. And again, I think the 49ers may be hedging their bets just a little bit on this one. I believe they'll be aggressive. It may be next year. When Buffalo got aggressive, it was after year 2 when they traded for Diggs. They had already seen Josh Allen. They knew what they had. The Niners may be waiting to confirm what they suspect. All right, bringing in that Niner guy. Sorry for the delay, but I got to get to those super chats. How you doing?
You must get the super chats, man. I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing better than most Niner fans.
You're not flipping the F out?
Well, there's a reason why I'm not flipping the F out, because
please tell.
I want to calm people down. All right?
Yes, please do.
That's my job, I feel like, today.
Let me get comfy.
Here's the thing. All these guys who are getting big money minus J.C. Jackson, they're all old.
Yeah.
They're all old. And this is a young man's game. And if you're going to spend $20 million a year on a 32-year-old Von Miller over 6 years, or $17 million on Chandler Jones, both of those guys have missed significant time the past 2 years. We're just going to be putting ourselves in the same position we were at D Ford. It's not.
Oof, man, you probably just triggered some Niners fans' painful memories right there.
It's true, though.
Yeah.
I mean, this team, we have enough injury-prone players. I'm okay with them having depth. It's not so much about, wrangling the superstars together. Like the Rams, and everyone's freaking about the Rams right now. They just got Allen Robinson today. And a good signing, for sure. I'm not going to denigrate that. But who's going to play guard and tackle on the right side for the Rams?
Yeah.
It's an honest question. They don't have anyone yet.
Nope.
They're not picking until the 3rd round. So what's the plan here?
It's a tough solution.
And they lost one of their best D tackles in free agency, Sebastian Day. They lost their second best corner. So the superstar team, I'm kind of curious to see if the Niners are kind of, as everyone zigs, they're zagging. And so, this has sort of been a Parag move. But the one thing I will say is, I guess the Niners have spent a lot of money. They just spent it on their own guys.
Yes. Matt Mayoko just did a great piece where he compared the Rams and the Niners, and they have an equal number of top salary guys at their position. The Niners have gone the path of having a middle class. They've actually paid some guys some $3 to $8 million contracts, and the Rams have skipped that. They've eliminated the middle class, and they're like, either your high end or your budget, and that's it.
Yeah, and that works until you get injured. Now, the difference between the Rams and the 49ers is Aaron Donald doesn't miss games. Jalen Ramsey doesn't miss games. We flip to the Niners. Debo missed basically a whole season. Yeah. Kittle is on and off the IR once in a while. I'm glad last season he at least played 17 games, including the playoffs. Bosa missed a full season. Right. So the Niners do have injury-prone players, and it's more prudent to build a full roster than to just bet on the fact that these guys won't get hurt again.
Yes.
So I'm not as freaked out as everybody else. Yeah, is not getting J.C. Jackson hurt? Absolutely.
And it did.
He's 26 years old. He's the type of guy in free agency that you go after because you're going to get at least 3 or 4 prime years, maybe even 5 prime years. The Chargers may have got a steal. They also might have gotten a bust because if Belichick's letting go a corner,
it makes you wonder, right? Because I mean, he has historically, when he's got his guy, he does lock him down.
He does lock him down, and especially a guy who's 26. Bill doesn't let a lot of those guys walk, which I found as I was looking more into it. Like, people went, they let go of Richard Seymour, let go of Ty Law. Yeah, but Bill let go of those guys when they were 29, 30.
Yeah, on the tail end of their careers, for sure.
The one guy he got rid of was Chandler Jones. He just got rid of him early because he didn't want to pay him and got 2 2s instead of a comp 3.
Right.
So that was kind of the idea behind that.
Right. This is not that. He let him walk. They got nothing.
They're going to get a comp pick
compensatory. Yeah.
They'll get a 3rd round comp pick next year. So there's that. I'm not as freaked out because the Niners don't have a lot of holes. And can I let people in on a little secret?
Please.
It's not that hard to find guards. Okay. It's not that hard to find guards. It's also not that hard to find 320-pound guys who can just clog up some running lanes. Now, DJ Jones is a better player than a lot of those guys.
Far better.
I'll give you that. But you can find other guys to recreate stopping the run.
Yes.
It's much easier to find a guard and a defensive tackle than it is to find a Nick Bosa or a Deebo Samuel.
That is a fact. That is a hard fact.
And the nice part is we are getting picks for them, which is, it's a nice little boost, but it's not going to be till next season. Maybe it's ammo. Maybe it's ammo for this draft. Maybe to come up and go get someone if you don't get somewhat decent value for Jimmy, whatever that's going to be. I'm not even going to talk. Let's not even talk about that.
Nope. I'm not. I'm staying away from Jimmy until we have some news because it's too painful.
Yeah. So I just want everyone just chill out, chill the hell out. Players are still getting cut. Teams are figuring it out. When they move on from Jimmy, they're going to have more cap space. And I have a feeling they're going to have a couple nice little veteran 1-year deals plugged in on this team to fill bigger holes.
Well, I've got some good news for you. Just in this time that we've been talking, it appears that you have swayed Miguel from one side of the fence. This front office is trash and cheap, Miguel says. Charvarius Ward is the best they can do. What a joke. Miguel, I appreciate you bringing that in. It illustrates where fans are. Obviously, I was sarcastic about us talking Miguel off the ledge. Miguel is teetering on the ledge. It sounds as if he may have already fallen. Miguel, back away from the ledge, back away from the ledge, back away.
Put the ball down. Put the ball
I'm really
down.
fond of the Charvarius Ward pickup, and I think we cannot really give it a full grade until we get the complete details of the contract and we look at J.C. Jackson versus Charvarius Ward, because I do think that he'll be a great scheme fit. I do think he appears to me to be a dog. I do think he's the right age range, and he was cheaper.
Well, the thing with Ward, I brought this up to you guys on your Two Beard show yesterday.
Right.
He's really tight in coverage.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to say he's the best corner ever. I think he's 26 years old. He has upside. He's got a lot of physical ability. He's tall and can run with long arms. That's what you want with a corner. But the one thing that this defense, if they had any holes, it was 3rd and 6+.
Yes.
They struggled so much down the stretch with that.
It was hard to watch.
Yeah, just constantly being in cover 3, just bailing the corners out. Now you can get up in people's faces. And because, I mean, what it looks like is, unless Emmanuel Mosley moves to free safety, which I don't see happening.
Right.
But you're going to have 3 corners and Ambry, Mosley probably in the slot, and then Ward playing press man, just getting up in receivers' faces, just giving the pass rush another half a second to get there.
Right.
And I think that's what that the 49ers have recognized their weaknesses in free agency, at least.
Yes. Schematically and philosophically, I like what they're doing so far. It's hard to predict how those players will actually fit within the team, but the positions they've addressed and the way in which they've done it, I'm pleased.
Yeah. And if you think the Niners should be spending a lot of money, okay, well, let me ask you, do you want Deebo Samuel and Nick Bosa on the team moving forward?
Right. You have to have that money to get it done. By the way, Bro Montana bringing in the super sticker here. Had to throw that up. Appreciate it, Bro Montana.
Yeah, I think the Niners are trying to have the holistic view of keeping this core together as long as possible and not signing 31-year-old guys to D4 contracts, essentially.
Right.
And
right.
I got no problem with that.
Those big contracts look great on signing day. They don't look so great down the road at times. So it is something that, while I would like a little more excitement, while there have been a couple of players that we've missed out on that I wish we had gotten, for the most part, I am calm. I am feeling like, hey, this is playing out. The biggest thing that has me refreshing Twitter every 20 seconds is waiting for the frickin' Jimmy news. And it just seems like it's going to be a little while.
And just remember, Niner fans, all the good players that are free agents and traded are all going to the AFC.
Yes. Oh, my God. The AFC West in particular. It is nuts. It is absolutely nuts. That Niner guy, I got to get down to the waiting room. You want to stick around, do the round table?
Of course.
My man. All right, I'm going to get to a couple of super chats, and then I'm going to Sean 951 Niners, who has been here and is coming in. Then I got Mario, William, and Kurt as well. All right, let me get to a couple of these super chats. Always appreciative of you guys bringing those in. This is William Bonnet. I have been, in the last couple of shows, the William Bonnet thing has got me. I see William Bennett down there smiling. I see him. Yes, it has gotten me fooled a couple of times. No more. I am wise to it at this point. So we've got William Bonnet coming in here with the super chat. Lynch built this team from scratch and made 2 NFC championship games and a Super Bowl in 5 years. Why doesn't he have equity with the fan base? I trust them. William, that is well said. I agree. I do think, much like with the coaching hires, with the coaching decisions, bringing Brian Griese in, I believe Kyle Shanahan has earned some credibility with us in his ability to pick out coaches and developed them, right? He has done it over and over and over again. So I give him a little bit of leeway there. I feel similarly about Lynch. I don't give him quite as much leeway, but I do believe he has built the core of this team, as you point out, William, basically from scratch. I'm pretty pleased with the end result, aside from the anomaly years as they have played out. But yes, I agree. Patience is the key. Just a little patient. Chris coming in with the super chat. We have the best defensive line coach in Chris Kosarick. Yes, we do. Anyone they bring in, I trust him to turn them into a boss-ass lineman. That's what we need, is boss-ass linemen. And that's apparently what we have on the defense. Man, we just keep finding gold there. Isn't that the way that it works? Here we go. Key Johns 25 coming in. How well does Debo fit with Trey? Trey's a downfield cannon arm. Debo's a bubble route body catcher. Ayuk is more important. I do think Ayuk is going to have the better statistical receiving year than Debo. That is my prediction. I think I made it a couple of weeks back. But I do believe that Debo is a better downfield threat than he gets credit for. He just hasn't had that opportunity to display that. And I do think that Lance will still be able to hit him on those wide open over the middle yak throws. I believe Lance will continue to work on that throwing motion and get those shorter passes down. I have confidence in the man's relentless ability to work. Innovative energy coming in to me. Saffold, Moses, Norwell, gone. Still have Jimmy. So far, this is a nightmare for Lance to be successful. He needs help. Can't wait to see who he is. So that's in reference to me saying the Niners might be slow playing this a little bit. I think it's important to remember that the core of this team is extremely solid. Yes, they let a couple of players walk that I would have rather had back in DJ Jones and Laken Tomlinson, but they do have Javon Kinlaw to back up DJ Jones. I know 49ers fans are saying, well, he can't stay healthy, but they believe this surgery has rectified the knee issue. And then you have Aaron Banks, who we drafted in the second round, who struggled to switch from left guard to right guard, but could now be tapped to play that left guard position. Yes, I believe that there still are players out there the Niners are and should be targeting and will bring in. And I think there will be some help by the end of free agency. But I'm not terribly mad at this strategy of slow playing it just a little bit. I'm not talking about complete slow play. I'm talking about being conservative to a small degree. Sean Walker wants to know, how do we call in? Sean, the link is getting reposted in here. You have to be a sneakerhead on the channel, though. You can still sign up. You just hit the little join button. It just verifies that while you're on video, you're not going to do anything weird, right? Because you become a member of the channel and you've got some skin in the game. All right, we are going to bring in Sean 951 Niners. Sean, how you doing, man? You're muted there so that we don't miss a word of it.
Gotcha.
There
Sorry
he
about that.
is. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing, bud?
I am good, man. You know, I'm dealing with free agency. I have been giving myself this weird nausea by being on Twitter and refreshing it and watch it go down, black out, down. And I give myself motion sickness doing it over and over and over again. And then I'm like, forget it. Just walk away. Just walk away. And I do for 10 minutes. And then I'm back refreshing. It's terrible.
Well, that's what happens when you become a dedicated content provider for us faithful.
That is true.
You need to make sure that you break the news before we do.
It's what I signed up for. By the way, Sean took direction very well. Sean is the latest sneakerhead on the channel. He asked, he received the direction, he signed the F up. I love it. We're going to bring in this super chat and see if it's something you and I want to talk about here. Okay. Edgardo coming in. As much as I love watching the Niners play, the AFC West is going to be insane and so much fun to watch. That's just a statement that I have to agree with. Are you blown away by how much firepower the AFC has brought in? I mean, the spending, when you compare the AFC to the NFC, is ludicrous. And in particular, the AFC West, it does seem like it's going to be a fun division to watch. Not like it wasn't already. I mean, that Chiefs-Bills game in the playoffs was stupid fun.
Yeah, to me, it's all about the actual teams that are doing it and looking at how close they were in previous years and what's holding them back. I mean, if you look at the Chargers, the Chargers 2 years ago had a number one defense with Staley, or was it? Yeah, Staley was their coach, right?
The Chargers with
the Rams 2 years ago were number one defense. Staley moved over to the Chargers.
Yeah,
the Chargers are in a division where you've got Mahomes. What else are you going to do? I mean, if you don't swing for the fence, you're just going to tell your fan base, we're going to he signed a 15-year contract with Kansas City or whatever that was. He's going to be there for a long time. If you don't make splashes in that division, you're just telling everybody who's a season ticket holder, hey, just come here and watch our second and third place team, which is wild card or bust every year.
Right. And the same with Josh Allen and the Bills, right? You've got to get over that hump. If they're going to continue spending, you've got to continue spending, and it becomes an arms race. It becomes like a Cold War.
And look at the Raiders, right? Chandler Jones and Devonta Adams, after the Chargers spent all that money to bolster their team. So the Raiders are going to tell their fan base in their brand new stadium in Vegas, well, we're just going to fight for third place every year and try to get a wild card. I mean, you just can't.
Unacceptable.
It's similar to what the Cardinals tried to do last year, right? They brought in J.J. Watt, A.J. Green, et cetera.
Right.
Just trying to compete in our division. Now, they're phony. We all know that, but they attempted to do it. The one reason why, and I barely caught that Niner, guys, because I was working, so I apologize. Whoever was in front of that, I just didn't hear it.
Hey, that's okay.
A lot of what he says is 100% accurate. I mean, the 49ers, they don't do anything crazy big splash because in our regime of Lynch and Shanahan, the two times they did it, they got burnt.
Right.
They brought in Jerick McKinnon on the offense and
that didn't work out so well.
D Ford burnt. Now, granted, D Ford's literally just injury related. McKinnon just sucked, but they're very they don't want to spend those contracts for guys that are already proven to come in here and try to make a difference when they've proved to themselves in their 4 years they do know how to draft. They just don't have the Midas touch on the first and second round all the time, where a lot of that equity is put into our team. Yes, they got Ayuk and there's a couple others in there, but the one swings that they take are on the guys that nobody in the NFL can deny, like Trent Williams. Pay the damn guy, because if you don't, the Chiefs were going to do it. You didn't have a choice. You got to do it. He's that top 1-2 in the game, period. But other than that, they've locked up their draft picks that are good. Fred Warner, all-pro, locked up. Bosa is going to be locked up. Debo is going to be locked up. So they're spending their money on the guys that are great. We just already have them on our team.
Yeah.
So who's the one position that we all keep talking about over the last couple of weeks is obviously quarterback. Now, most people on here that I go back and forth with in the chat know where I'm at. I'm just not a believer in Shanahan and Lynch committing to 2 or 3 years of a rookie right now when their contracts at that point in time would literally be on the line, and our fan base sitting back with wild card berths and divisional rounds, etc., or even getting to a Super Bowl and losing. We've had too much of that in our mouth the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So to go back to what happened on that super chat, I don't know, right before I came on, they do need some damn good credit in the way that they build our team, because at the end of the day, it's all business for them.
Yes.
It's York's money, it's their reputation, and it's Shanahan's reputation in the NFL. He's been in there 4.5 years. The first year he inherited junk. So
yes,
we were
2017 was painful.
We were junk until Jimmy came in, and they let Jimmy play like no playbook. Just go out and fling the ball
backyard
around.
Football. Backyard football.
We picked off 5 wins, and everyone got excited at that time. That contract, they spent money, and nobody was mad. We were 5-0. Nobody at that time said, Jimmy's gonna suck next year. I mean, we were all pretty pumped up. I don't think
absolutely. He sold a lot of season tickets that summer.
And he tore his ACL week 3 against Kansas City.
Yep.
And unfortunately, now all of a sudden, money comes into our minds. We're like, what the heck is going on? He's overpaid, not worth it, etc. Then he goes to a Super Bowl. And that was the 1 year that really screwed with our regime. Because if we weren't good in 19, then yes, Jimmy would have been pieced out. They would have said yes to Brady. And it would have been a different outlook for us.
Right.
But since he was good, how you couldn't move on from him. He missed a couple throws. He was bad in the fourth quarter, but damn it, you know how many teams the NFL would beg to be in that position? We just thirst a Super Bowl so bad that if you don't get it, it's like, screw it. Go get whoever the hell's the best and let's get this damn thing. We're close. But the NFL is a year-to-year league. It doesn't matter. Look at the Rams. Like, to me, I think the Rams got worse this offseason. I don't care that they got a receiver in Allen Robinson. So what? That was their OBJ. That was their Robert Woods.
Right.
Now, I know Robert Woods is going to come back. I believe he's coming back.
You would think so. I mean, it hasn't been reported that it was a nasty injury in any way that had a rough recovery period or anything like that. So you would think he bounces back.
Yeah, and the Von Miller. Like the Rams, I mean, they say the Rams are in a Von. Who cares? They sent him to the Bills. Good luck without Aaron Donald next to you. Let's go see what your stats are for 6 years up there in the freezing cold.
I mean, they got a pretty stout defense as well, but I agree. Got him out of the division. Don't need to worry about it. And I agree that to this point, if you look at subtractions and additions, I would agree that right now the Rams still have some additions to make to get back to where they were last season. I do like Allen Robinson as an undervalued wide receiver. So that one stung a little bit because I thought maybe he would linger around and the Niners would kick the tires, but it wasn't because I think he automatically makes the Rams into some unbeatable force.
Well, and that Niner guy said it good as well. They've got 2 nasty gaping holes on their O-line right now.
Right.
And they know darn well the one Achilles heel they had last year, if you're the Rams, was pick sixes and sacks by Stafford. Well, if you don't bolster that up, I don't care. That's why we were so successful against them, since they're the Super Bowl champs. I'm going to talk about them. That's why we were so successful against them. And that Niner guy said it well as well. We were terrible on 3rd and 6 and long. Really, ultimately, that's what cost us that game and other games in the season, was how atrocious we were, especially Tennessee with A.J. Brown, how bad we were. And that it's almost like you wanted it to be 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 because we knew we were going to stop them. But if you get 3rd and 6,
force them to run. Be short enough that they don't pass on us.
Weird, right? But that's why, to me, too, I sit back and I go, well, look, the Rams, we don't fear them. Rams actually fear us. McVay fears what we do. That's why they celebrated like kids on Jimmy's, final interception to seal that win. Sure. Because they didn't even believe they were going to win that game. There was nobody in that stadium that thought the Rams would win that game. Even going into the fourth quarter. No chance. But what happened?
I think, it's fair to throw that out there. I mean, I'm sure there were some fans in there that were confident, but I agree that I do think there's a big brother syndrome, much like Seattle has over us, that currently exists over the Rams. The question becomes whether that playoff win shirked that big brother role, because I thought we did that to Seattle with the win in 19 to close out the regular season to advance to the playoffs. And then it turned out, no, they still kind of own us. So I'll be interested to see if we can maintain our ownership of the Rams in these coming seasons.
But the reason I bring this up is not to focus on the Rams. I'm focusing on the way our regime builds our team to see what we do against teams like that. Last year, they get Stafford. most of the media and everyone said, "Oh, Super Bowl favorite, guaranteed." Those guys,
right?
We're 3-5. Everyone's like, "Oh, these guys are garbage." Lynch and Shanahan, hot seat. They don't know what they're doing. A lot of the moves they make are moves that we rely on our coaches to make those players better throughout the year. Like someone mentioned Kasirk and the D line. Absolutely. We can take Hargrave or whoever we just got. Was it Hargrave?
It's not Hargrave, but I, off the top of my head, cannot tell you who it was. I got it right here, though.
But someone like that guy, right? Like you look at him and you go, man, he's not amazing. But
Hassan Ridgeway.
Ridgeway, there you go. I wouldn't doubt when you sit there and go through an offseason with Kasirk, you put him next to Bosa. Let's see what his stats look like this time.
Right.
Because ultimately, Arden Key, DJ Jones, Armstead, the rest of them, they got better throughout the year.
Yes, most definitely. Markedly better throughout the year.
And it's just them getting through the game 5, 6, 10, 8. They're healthy. I mean, we dominate once the year progresses. We did the same thing in 19. Our defense was better on the back end in 19, so we didn't have to worry about the front end as much. But since our back end was not as good last year, once those guys started clicking and Aziz came in and started flying around on the edges to get rid of the screens, it changed the way teams had to play offense against us.
Right.
They had to wait longer. Quarterback held the ball longer. It's the way football is, right? It's the way it's designed. We got to the quarterback a lot more because our safeties played well. The only thing we didn't do was take the ball away. So that was the one unfortunate thing that we need to fix as well.
Yeah, we got to get some ball hawks. I think we can do that in the draft. It doesn't appear that we've prioritized that so far in free agency. Sean, I'm going to go down to the waiting room. We'll make that roundtable happen, eh?
Got it.
Yes. All right. I am going to bring in Mario next. Mario, you are up. Just going to get to 2 comments real quick before I bring in the next caller, because somebody asked again, how do I call in Rob? Well, you have to be a sneakerhead on the channel, and the way in which you do that, let's see, Nick Money Meyer asked this. How do you sign up, Rob? What you do is you subscribe to the channel first, and then where the subscribe button was, there becomes a join button. There are some very inexpensive ways that you can join the channel for as little as 99 cents a month, but it gives you some skin in the game, and then you can come on video and say what you want to say, because I have faith that you will then respect the channel, because if something weird happens on a live where it's on video, something can happen to my stuff. I can't have that happen. I can't have that. I've worked too hard for this channel to have that happen. So that's how you do it. You hit join, and then you choose your Sneakerhead membership. And then you go to, I'm going to paste it again, this link, which will take you to the community tab on my YouTube page. And there will be a link to get backstage. So that is the way in which you get in. Now, Joey came in and said, Rob, if Lynch was offered a second rounder for Jimmy at some point and turned it down, and they now end up getting less than a second rounder, do you think that is a fireable offense for John Lynch? I wanted to get to this because I think a lot of people have this same type of question. No, I do not. Is that regrettable? Yes. Is that a mistake? Yes. Should John Lynch learn from that? Yes. I don't think it's a fireable offense. I think it's unfortunate. I think that he should do better. I expect more of him. Bad on him for doing it. And you got to balance that against all the good things that he has done. And I believe in building out the core of this roster, John Lynch has done a pretty phenomenal job. So that's what I'm hanging my hats on. All right, so I am bringing in Mario now. As I do, if you're watching this, there's about 300 of you watching, and you like the content, hit that little like button down below and consider subscribing to the channel. Mario, how are you doing today, sir?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking. I'm fired up because we're in the middle of free agency. I'm sort of at my wit's end because I've been constantly refreshing Twitter for, it seems like, a week on end. But I feel like I'm doing good. I feel like I'm remaining calm. I feel like I'm remaining logical. And that's the important part.
You're right. I watched the whole day NFL Network for news.
Yes, I'm telling you, everybody's obsessed with the NFL. They have created a year-round news cycle, and I'm here for it.
Yeah. I want to talk free agents.
Okay.
First one would be Lyle Collins.
Ooh, I like that free agent. Just released from the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, because we all don't know what's about McGlinchey.
Yes. And I heard at the combine that there were actually some real concerns there from the 49ers that it could linger a little bit. It's the type of injury that could progress into the season. And so I do think that having some type of an insurance policy might be necessary for the 49ers.
Of course. The second one would be Stephon Gilmore.
Ooh, the longer he sticks around, the cheaper he potentially gets. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, because I trust our DBs. I really trust them. But we have the Rams. We have to play the Broncos. And that could be very hard for our DBs.
Very hard, especially if the Rams, not only having added Allen Robinson, do add OBJ as they've expressed interest in still adding him. I mean, he may not play for most of the regular season, but towards the postseason, can you imagine attempting to cover Allen Robinson, Cooper Kupp, OBJ, and Robert Woods? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, really hard. And the third one, I hope we can get back DJ Jones.
He signed with Denver, and the ink has now dried on the paper. Yeah. I was hoping he would be one of those players that said, well, you know what? I've reconsidered. I'm going to retract my name from the deal and switch teams like a couple other players have done this season. But he didn't. So this is one of my last opportunities to give the DJ Jones barbecue sauce shout out. Yeah, he is.
Maybe send it to Austria.
What's that? Send it to Austria? Nice. Is that where you're at right now? Are you over in Austria?
I'm in Austria.
That is fantastic. I think you may be the first out of country caller on the live call-in show. I think that might be the case. I don't want to speak for anyone who maybe was here. What's that?
It's nearly 2:00 in the morning here.
All right. Sticking around to talk Niners in Austria at 2 a.m. Mario, I like your style, sir.
Thanks. So the last free agent would be Fletcher Cox.
Oh, I love that one. To me, that was a surprise cut. And I do wonder if the reports are true that it was a cut, but they immediately began speaking with him about bringing him back to the team. So I do wonder if maybe it's the type of release that he was aware it was happening beforehand. He wasn't offended by it, and he knew that they were just going to hash something out. So my fear is he's right back with the Eagles. But if he's not, if he starts taking visits with other teams, the Niners need to pounce on that. When I think of some of the dominant defenses that have given us fits, it's having that pass rusher in the middle of the defensive line. And to me, that would be an incredible addition to what we already have there. Fletcher Cox, man.
Yeah, my only concern is he would be very expensive.
Right.
In my opinion.
Yes, he would. And you know, I think that the Niners certainly have been cautious to this point. So it's fair to wonder if they're willing to spend. But my hope is that they do have a plan in place where they believe that Jimmy is going to be off of the books. They can clear a little bit more money this year with a few more contract extensions. There are a couple of names. Jimmy Ward, Samson Ebukam. There are a few ways in which they could clear about $12 million for this year's cap and then just backload it, because I am confident this cap is going to skyrocket and those backloaded deals won't hurt you too much.
And one more position, as you talked with Chase Laponte, the strong safety position.
Yes, because Jaquiski Tartt has not come back yet. It doesn't seem as if he has an interest in coming back. So that will be interesting. There aren't that many names out there beyond Honey Badger, right? Beyond Tyrann Mathieu?
Too expensive.
Yeah.
Too expensive, in my opinion.
I would think so, too.
That guy you saw in the combine, Jason talked about, I don't know his name at the moment.
Was that maybe O'Neal or Sign, one of those two? Both of those seem to be reasonable fill-ins there at strong safety.
I don't know it at the moment.
Yeah. There were, quite honestly, there were a few safeties available. The ones that I really had my eyes on, the one for me that I would love to have is sort of a hybrid, Jalen Petrie. But
Jalen Petrie. Petrie.
I think unless we get a deal done for Jimmy that gives us a second rounder that's sooner in the draft than our current pick at 61, my fear is he's going to be gone. I got four guys I love, and I fear all four of them are going to be gone. Nick Bonito and Boye Mafe, both edge rushers. Christian Watson, the wide receiver out of North Dakota, and then Jalen Petrie. My fear is all four will be off the board at 61.
That could be the problem. For me, in sure rushing downs, I'm okay with Hufanga.
Yeah. I mean, there's Hufanga and there is Charvarius Moore, and the Niners may be getting cheap at that position. They may view that as hey, we'll have a true competition in camp. One of those two guys is going to emerge as a starter, and the rest of the defense is strong enough that they can absorb, a minor downtick in production from the strong safety role.
Yeah. At last, greetings to you.
Thank you.
Big shout out to the Nana Empire Austria.
Yes. Thank you for coming on, Mario. It has been an absolute pleasure talking with you. I'm thrilled to have my first international caller. I love that there are Niner faithful over there in Austria that are pulling for
free
agency.
We have our own branch in Austria.
What's that?
We have our own branch in Austria.
All right. Hey, I need to find out. Do they have like an Instagram page or a Twitter page that I can go follow to be in touch with?
A Facebook page.
Okay. I'm old school and I don't have a Facebook account. I don't know. Okay. I mean, I had one at one point in time, but I will check it out. I'll find a way to keep tabs on the Austrian Niner faithful.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Hey, absolute pleasure, Mario. Cheers to you, sir. All right. Fantastic. We are bringing in No Border Sports and then William Bennett. We will definitely get both of those gentlemen in. Just want to check in the comments to make sure that I haven't missed anything pertinent, in particular, any super chats. Because if you pay to get a comment in, you got to get that comment read. I mean, them's the rules, people. All right, it looks like we are good. So I'm bringing in Waruna here with No Border Sports. Waruna, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I have to agree with Dirk that Mario was fantastic to have our first international caller from Austria. That was phenomenal. I really enjoyed having Mario on, and I have no doubt that this is going to be another epic call, Waruna. So what is on your mind? What are you thinking about all of these transactions or lack of transactions within free agency?
Not really worried about it, the lack of transactions, because I believe they kind of have a plan. Because the reason is this: now, every time we have this emotional bias, because every time there is a free agent name comes up, we want Devonta Adams, we want Allen Robinson, then Tyrann Matthew, everyone. You can't have everyone because you
wait. Waruna, are you telling me that we can't have every single free agent on the market? We can't have every single one of them? That is devastating news. But you're right. People seem to think that we're just going to land everybody.
Yeah, so you can't land everyone. So that's the first thing. But then you have to understand, okay, what is your team chemistry, what that building needs, right? Because you have to think, okay, who is going to fit our quarterback? Who is going to match up with our playing styles? So many things. Because some play, for example, Richard Sherman, right? Richard Sherman, when we try to change our schemes, Sherman struggled. I mean, he's a Hall of Fame corner. So there are things like that sometimes that as fans, we only see the flashes of highlights. But I'm not saying we are not knowledgeable, but at the same time, there are certain aspects that hard decisions that has to be made by the 49ers. So that makes sense to me, sometimes not making these flashy decisions. But then again, I'm not really worried about 49ers not trading away Jimmy Garoppolo at this moment. The reason is, I think it will play it out for the best of everything. Whether it's bad or good, it will play it out on its own. Here's the risk now. 49ers, what they did believe is, before the season, after the trade happened, Kyle said, Jimmy plays his best football when he is angry. People vouched that, okay, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to bowl out this season. Did he? He did not.
No, he did not.
Then they said Jimmy Garoppolo is worth first round pick. Did he? No. Then it came down to a second round pick. Now it's a third round pick. There were so many teams just banging on the doors in Santa Clara for Jimmy Garoppolo, rioting, but it did not happen. Jimmy Garoppolo at least have some kind of a trade value thanks to Deebo Samuel last season. That incredible season. That's why we had this 10 wins. So if I was Deebo Samuel's agent, I would be suing Jimmy Garoppolo for half of his contract for what Deebo did. But that aside, so that's, I think it's interesting to understand the dynamics of Shanahan and Lynch era. Look what they did with Jalen Hurd.
Yes, Jalen Hurd.
We were asking why Jalen Hurd on that team. 53, he made to the 53-man roster. I did not understand that decision. Why are you trying to prove us that this guy is worth so much? They were treating Jalen Hurd like Jerry Rice 2.0. This is a guy that we can't miss.
So you're saying that there's a history of reserving these roster spots for people that don't necessarily deserve it, of hanging on because they feel that the value is a bit too high. By the way, I just want to call out, some people have said there's a little bit of static on your line there, Waruna. It's not terrible, but it's just a little bit coming in through the headset. But I think it'll be okay to finish out the call.
Yes, maybe I'll just drop out the headset. I hope. Is that okay now?
Yes, that is better. Fixed.
Okay, cool. So what I'm trying to say is there is a kind of arrogance in their decision making. I mean, it can happen to me as well, right? Because if I make a decision and people questioning that, I would always try to go to depths, whatever I can do to make sure to prove that people, I'm right, you are wrong. Because
right, you want to justify your own decisions.
That's what I saw with Jalen Hurd situation. I'm not blaming Shanahan, because if I was the head coach in that situation, I would have done the same, because I spent a draft pick and I spent so much belief and I thought he's going to make the team. Now everyone is questioning me, but it happened. So I think Jimmy Garoppolo's situation is almost similar, that they are trying to prove us, okay, we thought everyone there is a plan. We drafted Trey Lance, and maybe we are going to start Jimmy Garoppolo 1 year, maybe 2 years. He's going to improve his trade value, but it's not happening as they thought. So they are trying other alternatives like restructuring contracts and whatnot. So eventually it will play out, because one thing that can happen is, let's think about let's say, I'm not going to say worst case scenario, but
let's not go to a worst case
for another year, right? Maybe Jimmy will stay for another year. Then Deebo might not have the same season he had in 2021.
Right.
Then he will most probably struggle. And that will eventually tell you the story of Kyle Shanahan as the head coach, whether he is just a great offensive coordinator who is pretending to be a great head coach, or is he a really great head coach? So everything will play it out. I would say we just have to be patient.
Yes, definitely have to be patient. I certainly believe that there's other evidence that supports the idea that Kyle Shanahan is a high caliber head coach. His selection of assistant coaches, his ability to promote them, to consistently have them poached from his staff. But I agree, like there's certainly a camp of folks that are still, hey, the jury's still out because he's had some rough seasons. The overall record isn't where we want it to be. And so I think there's people where the jury's still out for sure.
Yes, because end of the day, no matter what, you have to win that ring and you have to prove it, because there are coaches out there. Because Sean McVay basically showed that, okay, we don't care about draft picks or anything. We'll do whatever we can do. And okay, he proved that you can win a Super Bowl that way. Bruce Arians proved it that way. Basically, when Tom Brady dropped into his lap, he was like, okay, Tom, you take care of the team. Doesn't matter. I can have the head coach title, but you coach the team. So he took the back seat. So he didn't have any ego doing that. So coaches always doing that. But ultimately, Kyle Shanahan has to prove it. Yes, Bill Belichick, it didn't work out to him with Browns. Then he went to New England, and eventually he proved out that he's a good head coach. But
yes, and I'm guessing the Browns regret that decision of moving on from Bill Belichick.
yes, and the other funny thing is, if Belichick stayed with Browns, he might have not been this great head coach that
That's right. Oftentimes, failures are what springboard us to our biggest successes. I am completely on board with that, Waruna.
Yes, the only thing is, what would hurt us is from the 49er fan base, if Shanahan has to leave, that would hurt us because we are missing a great offensive mind. But end of the day, things will play out. Maybe he will learn from the mistakes that he did in San Francisco. After a couple of years, he will get back to another head coaching job and just jumpstart his career. So things can happen here and there.
I predict he turns it around here. I mean, I think he already has. I think he's illustrated what he's got, and I think he stays here and illustrates further that he is the coach. But Waruna, do you got any closing thoughts? I got to get down to William Bennett before we close this thing out.
Yes, just wanted to say, be patient. Things will play it out. So there is no point we are just spending our energy too much about things that we cannot control.
No, yelling out into the ether and being angry about the Niners not doing anything. I agree. Yeah. Patience. All you need is a little patience. Just listen to Axl Rose. Always a pleasure. Go check out No Border Sports if you have not. Waruna, I'm sure I will see you again soon, my friend.
Okay, thank you very much.
Take care. All right, we are bringing William Bennett in. Just got to hit the super chats before we do. 49 Glory says, and still on the 49ers roster, Jimmy, 2 picks, Garoppolo. Got to give him credit. He's quite the survivor. I don't think it's Jimmy's fault necessarily he's still on the roster. Maybe because of the surgery. He did, in fact, influence this, but to me, it's much more about John Lynch and potentially missing out on some of the early action. But that's where we are now. William Bennett coming in. People are missing the fact that the NFC is opening up with all the superstars going to the AFC. The road to the Super Bowl is parting like the Red Sea. William Bennett, I like your optimism. That's a glass half full take right there. Hey, if the only thing we need to worry about is getting back to the Super Bowl, I have to agree. It got a little bit easier. So yes, there is a positive side to all this talent heading out to the AFC, in particular the AFC West, because they're all going to beat up on each other. That's fantastic news. HR coming in. Do not wait to strike till the iron is hot, but make it hot by striking. That's a good saying. Niners, do not try to moneyball a Super Bowl. Go all in. Hey, I agree in a sense, but I'm okay in this wait and see mode. I do have to see the complete picture and have patience until I've seen that complete picture before I can actually definitively say it was a good offseason or a bad offseason. Right now, the jury is still out. Castro 007, a Raiders fan in the chat, came in to drop a super sticker. That's appreciated. Hey, you can root for the Raiders. That is all good. All good. We support that. I mean, I'm sure there are some people with a lot of love lost for the Raiders, but I don't have any love lost. I was there to check off Oakland Coliseum, saw a great game between the Raiders and the Chiefs. That was the last game that a football field had the dirt diamond inside of it. Oh, God bless the Oakland Coliseum. All right, I'm bringing William Bennett into the stream. William Bennett, how you doing, man?
Good. Can you hear me?
I can. It sounds good on my end. I see that you, like me, are rocking the Irish green for St. Paddy's Day. Hey, that's what it's all about, man. Cheers, brother.
Okay. As I was talking with Sean and Chris and that Niner guy in the private chats, as you know, Devonta Adams is now a Raiders. He was signed for a 5-year contract for $141 million.
It is wild. He is. I said it earlier when I announced it at the beginning, but Devonta Adams was a proud Palo Alto alumni. Palo Alto High School alumni. I think we may have a little bit of an echo. I just heard it in the back of my ear there. But yes, he's from Palo Alto High School. The man, the myth, the legend. He deserved that big contract.
See if I can get rid of that.
Try and get that echo out of there.
Can you hear it now?
Yeah, it just got a little bit worse.
Okay, hold on 1 second. I think I know what it is. How about now?
Testing. Nope. Still got the echo. Do you want to do a little testing on it and then try it back out? Maybe leave and come back in?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I think that's probably the issue.
Okay, we're going to try and go into the roundtable format. We will work you into that, William. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, my friend.
All
right. We will bring William back in. I hope that we get him back in without the audio issue because I love having him in. But right now we have 3 folks. 3? That's the weirdest 3 I've ever put up. 3 folks. What was that in that one movie where it's like the way you put up 3 signals whether you're European or American? When you put up 3 like this, it means there's something wrong with you. So that's what it says about me. But we are bringing in 3 guys. We got Sean 951 Niners, Chris Royal, and that Niner guy are officially into a round table. Randall Riley is excited. It's a round table, more like a 4 square, he says. Yes. How are you all doing? Are you excited to be here in the round table? We're going to find some fantastic topics to bring up. But does anyone have a first kickoff topic that they want to throw out there right now?
No, I'd rather see what's going on in the chat since I'm not watching. What the chat
is saying. That's what I'm looking for because I had one that I wanted to bring in here that I think is relevant, but we had an active chat, so I struggle to see it. Oh, here we go. It was from Joey Nichols. This one is the one that he followed up with. So let me see. Here we go. I think this is it because he references the straw man fallacy. And anytime you're going to work in a logical fallacy, I'm on board. So he says the problem is not landing everyone, total straw man fallacy. The problem is being in the mix for guy after guy after guy after guy and not closing the deal on guy after guy after guy. Do you guys agree with this, that it is extremely frustrating and a long-term issue to hear the 49ers linked to every single high-end free agent, but then not actually closing the deal? That Niner guy, how do you feel about it?
It's annoying. I mean, because they're just not going to get them. That's
Right.
the thing. It's just they keep doing it every year. There's some magic deal that they're going to be involved in that gets everyone all revved up, and then they don't get the player. So it gets to a point where I'm at a point where I just ignore it. I just wait for them to be like, okay, he's actually signed here. Like he's signed the contract and it's done. But yeah, it's annoying for sure. I just want to share this real quick. Debo just tweeted this out. I know Grant can't see it because he's blocked, but conference getting easier and easier by the day.
Conference getting easier and easier by the day. Man, I love that. Well, we just had Chris had to drop out, but I've got William Bennett here. We're going to try to get William back in. William, we're testing the echo. Testing. 1, 2, 3. How's it sounding?
How does it sound? Any echo?
Sounds all right to me. I don't hear any echo. In the chat, throw it in if you hear an echo, but I think it is good. And Chris, I think, just got kicked out by his internet. We are going to try not a 4 square, but a 5. Ooh, we got small in that one. Let's hide the current comment. That's a little bit better. All right, so what do you think of that? We're going Sean 951 Niners. What do you think of the idea that the Niners keep hitting on these names one after the other, but not landing them?
Doesn't matter to me because I have no evidence that they're actually in on these guys. Just because somebody reports it, that's great. I mean, so what? They're not even Niner people. So the one thing that we can be proud of is the 49ers are one of 4 franchises that every time anybody's available, we're just going to be linked to them as soon as they're available, just because. I mean, we could have the best quarterback in the league, and as soon as the quarterback's available, Niners are considering them. So, I mean, unfortunately, we're a topic regardless for any position, but I'm okay with it because, I mean, I know the philosophy of our regime. I mean, I know you just know who they're going to pay and who they're not going to pay and what their values are and what we're not going to go over. So.
And it's a fair point that this is an organization that doesn't leak information themselves unless they want to. And you don't know that when this information goes out there, it's being leaked by the organization. Could very well be that it is agents just throwing that out there. The Niners are a click-heavy team. When you mention the San Francisco 49ers, the clicks go up. And so if I want to get attention to my free agent customer, my client, I'm going to talk about the Niners because that is going to get the clicks going. Chris, how do you feel about this continual saga of being linked to every free agent but not driving them home?
Yeah, I think I'm somewhere in the middle there. I mean, it is frustrating for sure as a fan, but at the same time, I mean, we can't pretend that, you know, all 32 teams aren't kicking tires on these people. Like, if you're a good player, you're going to get, you know, your eyes on you, like regardless whether you can finagle the, you know, the financial part of it, you know, they're gonna call, do their due diligence. And I think it's just something that we got to be used to.
Yeah, I would agree. William, interested to hear your thoughts. And was there anyone that we've missed out on so far where you have regret, where you say to yourself, man, I wish we had landed that dude?
Well, I'm sure it's a lot of people that, you know, that the Niners have quote unquote had interest in that we all would have liked to see where the rating go. But to be honest, at this point, just like that Niner guy and Sean and all them said, I really ignore it. You know what I'm saying? It's like the ice cream truck outside and you ain't got no money. I just paid no attention. I mean, until I see them signing or they say, oh, they've signed this guy, I just paid no attention. You can understand, I don't believe it's the organization. I think it's agents and reporters just saying the Niners name because they know it's going to bring a lot of interest. I think agents are saying it to try to drive up the value of their prospect just by mentioning the Niners in association. So I really don't believe it or pay it any attention until I see it in writing.
I tend to agree. I was going to bring in William Bonnets here where, I just brought it in. Not going to. Here it is. There it is. At Rob, last year the Niners made the splash in the draft, not free agency. I wouldn't doubt same thing happens this year. I was going to bring this for a topic, but I think the reality is right now, I just don't know that the Niners have the draft capital to really make a splash. I guess this is a topic. We're going to talk about it. To me, when I think about it just off the cuff right now, you know, I look at it as I don't know that the Niners are going to make a splash this offseason. Sean, what does your gut say? Do you feel like it's a potential for a free agent for the draft, or do you think maybe they just sort of take it easy in this cycle and see what they have?
Well, I think everybody on will agree. And also it's been spoken of weeks prior from the Combine. And I think that Niner guy talked about it as well a week or two ago. There's going to be really good players where our draft picks are currently at. So because of the way we draft and we're better in later rounds, I really think in that third, fourth, round range in there, assuming we keep the picks, we don't have any crazy things happen before the draft where they get sent other places for players. But if we still have them, I still think that's their bread and butter when it comes to getting guys on our team that are good enough to be better with our coaching staff. Granted, there was a lot of coaching changes, but I think we can still make splashes. The only difference is the splash doesn't happen when we jump in the water. The splash happens after we get out of the water with our team because we don't see it until the season. It's not something that looks amazing on paper. They just have a plan and a goal for them. Who is incredibly pumped up on Deebo Samuel coming out of the draft? I'm not saying he was not a good player, but I didn't hear anybody just, oh my God, they got Deebo Samuel, everything's going to change. But what do? He gets really good when you put him with coaches like Shanahan and our receiving coaches at that time with Welker and other guys. We have a scheme that brings the best out of our players because we put them in the right positions to win. That's what Shanny authors. So I think we can make a splash, but it won't just be on paper. I think it'll be a cumulative effort that we'll see take the fruits of its labor in the season.
Yeah, so the splash won't be in a signing or in a particular draft pick. The splash will be in the end result that happens when all these pieces come together. I like that summation. That Niner guy, are you seeing any splashes coming in free agency in these remaining players that are out there, some of the value, or in the draft?
I don't know about splashes. I would say veteran good players, but I wouldn't say splashes.
Yeah.
The splashes have already kind of been made, right?
Right. Charvarius Ward someone put it in the comments. Charvarius Ward may be the big splash of this offseason.
The only one that I think is realistic and could happen is Danielle Hunter.
Oh, that's an interesting one. What kind of a trade do you think it would take to pry him away from the Vikings?
I don't think much because he just got banged up this last year. He's still only 26 years old. He came into the league at 20. He's very, very young.
Yeah.
And he is progressively wanted out of Minnesota. Now, the hard part is you do have to extend him.
Right.
But that would be the only player that, like, through the landscape of the league that would make any sense because getting another edge along with Bosa would help them out tremendously. And also, a little breaking news, Panthers are out on Watson, so it's down to 2.
Ooh, so we are down to Atlanta and the Saints. Come on, somebody, make a freaking move so that the dominoes can continue to fall. All right, William Bennett, how do you see this thing? Do you see some big splashes coming, or do you think it's going to be a little bit more of what Sean's talking about, where we'll bring in some pieces, and as that Niner guy talked about, we'll bring in some veterans, but nothing overly splashy for the rest of the offseason? Are you muted? We may have lost audio for poor William. We have technical issues. We'll come right back. We're going to switch over to Chris. I'll come right back to you, William. Chris, what are you thinking? Splash here in the rest of free agency and the draft, or do you think we have basically gotten the only splash pool effect we're going to get?
Yeah, I think as far as free agency goes, we're probably, we're not going to get anything super sexy. I'm still hoping for Tyrann Mathieu, that's my, the fan in me hoping, but I think that
you and me both.
As far as free agency, I think, we might just get some, roster fillers and stuff. As far as the draft, we don't have the picks really, unless if we get something amazing for Jimmy Garoppolo and we can package picks together to, maybe move up. I think we're going to have a pretty quiet off season.
Nice. I just heard William coming in. I heard that audio. Can you hear me, William? Oh, he's muted. He may have had to unplug. All right. We will come back after going to the next question. We've got a super chat from Jeremy Chrisman coming in. Niners are about a sustainable culture. Develop your own guys and then keep them. Free agency is for the big holes in your team. So that begs the question, did the 49ers have any big holes that they needed to fill coming into free agency? Chris, how did you see this breaking out for the Niners? Did they just have a couple of Band-Aids needed, or were there any big holes on this roster?
Yeah, I mean, the way I looked at it, it was, just Band-Aids. I don't think we had too much like big holes. I mean, we have a pretty solid team all around. It's just finding, the guys to really complement everybody.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. That's basically the way I saw it. If I were going to call out one major hole, I think it would have to be the secondary. But as soon as they signed Charvarius Ward, to me, that addressed enough of the depth that they were missing to fill in that piece. That Niner guy, did you see any big holes coming into free agency?
I don't think there were big holes, but I think by what's happened, it's created some holes. And I think they were holes that were kind of expected. I still think the Niners are aware of them too. They've been drafting a lot of offensive linemen in the last couple of years to try and develop some guards. Hasn't gone to plan just yet. Now we'll see what happens coming up this next season and also with the draft and moving forward. But there's also one big hole, and there's one at the safety position.
Yes.
By losing Tart, there's definitely a hole that's been created. I'm curious to see how they plan to fill that. I still think Tart could be back here, although it doesn't sound that way. But right now, safeties aren't getting paid a lot of money.
No.
So it's definitely a hole that's concerning. And people have been saying draft Jalen Petrie, draft Nick Cross. I'm not in on playing. So Petrie's a guy, he never played safety in college. He played a hybrid slot corner.
Right.
And Nick Cross, although he's got a little bit more experience being single high and allowing Jimmy Ward to come up, that's a lot to put on a guy with like 1,000 snaps. So I think they need to get at least a veteran presence in there, or maybe even a good player. And I'm not saying Tyrann Mathieu, because Tyrann Mathieu doesn't. It's basically having two Jimmy Wards.
Right.
It's not necessarily getting a guys who complement each other. They do the same thing. Just Tyrann Mathieu makes some more sacks and some bigger plays.
Yeah, both very versatile. You could fill both your safety roles by having them back there, but agree, it is a bit of a not redundancy, because you can never have a redundancy of talent, but a redundancy of skill set, you might say.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they have plan. They're not stupid. They're gonna address them some way or another. I just hope it's not completely cheap and terrible, where you're betting on the rookies to take over for this team.
I was just going to say, are you okay if the plan is Charvarius Moore and Talanoa Hufanga are going to compete for that safety spot?
I don't think the Niners are okay with that. Charvarius Moore's coming off a torn Achilles.
Yes.
Hufanga played kind of like a extra dime safety role in there to try and disguise coverages. Then when he did play, I mean, look at the Arizona game. They lost Jimmy Ward, they lost Tart, and the safeties are running around like chickens with their heads cut off.
Yeah, that was brutal to watch.
It was brutal.
Sean, how do you see it? Any big holes that they needed to address?
I agree 100% with that Niner guy. There is another hole, though. It's what you've been preaching all offseason, Rob. Obviously, we need to get the best possible punt return and kick returner we can get, because our field possession is garbage. So that's one. I don't have a name for that. Otherwise, it's most likely coming out of the draft, one of the three that you've mentioned, because I haven't studied them. But outside of that, I would say on the O-line, I agree. They have a plan that we don't know about, because there is no way they let Tomlinson go. We have Mack, who's in Ireland, figuring out if he still wants to play, which we assume he does. Trent Williams is Trent Williams, but that's why he gets the Brinks truck. There's no way you're going to have three holes on our offensive line, because they obviously have a plan. You don't let Compton and Brunskill. I guess they tendered Brunskill.
They did tender Brunskill, but only right of first refusal. So,
but it's like, you don't let Compton go if you don't have a plan. He's not good, but you need to keep him if you don't have a plan, right? So
you'd like to think so, at least. There's
no chance. They're either bluffing on McGlinchey, and McGlinchey is way ahead of schedule, and they are relying on him big time. They're just not, telling us the truth, which happens sometimes on health of players. Or they really do think Banks is legit, and they just haven't told us because it's the offseason. Or they've got some works right now with some linemen that they're waiting on, seeing what happens with Jimmy, to be able to possibly guarantee affording some of these guys that are lingering. But again, until Jimmy goes, that $25 million, I mean, we just have to assume that their plan is just in limbo. That's just
I tend to think, because there are still some restructures that could free some money, I don't think that Jimmy is necessarily hindering any moves, but he could be. He's certainly making them more challenging. From the chat, we got people calling out, hey, guard, tackle, wide receiver. I definitely add to that returner. Sean, you and I are lockstep on that. Joey coming in here, offensive line, talking about, hey, we got a hole after we let Lake and Tomlinson go. HR agreeing with returners and offensive guards. And Mario came back in with the donation, the super sticker in there. Fantastic. HR agrees we need that safety. So there are some holes. They're not gaping holes, but they are holes nonetheless. We have William. We're going to try and bring William back in to see if the echo is gone. It's our last shot here. William, talk to me. Can
you hear me?
I can hear you. Does anybody hear an echo? It doesn't sound like an echo to me. It sounds good. All right. We are going with this. All right. We got another super chat. It didn't come from William Bennett. It came from William Bonnet. So that is what's coming in here. They like this roster. It's their guys. I meant package picks to move into the late first round. Nothing too big. Lynch and Kyle are shrewd and have moved up and down the draft board a lot. I totally agree. They have moved a lot. That would be splashy if the Niners move back into the first round. So let's play with Williams' hypothetical here, and let's say the 49ers trade back into the first round. Now, I don't think they're going to trade deep into the first round, right? You're probably looking at the tail end. It costs a lot to move up into the middle of the first round or the early of the first round. So let's assume the Niners grab a pick that's 26 or later in the first. If we scored that and you now have a much wider array of players that the Niners would view as fits that would touch on some of these needs that we've talked about, who do you target in that range? Do you have anyone in mind there? We got to go with the first name from William Bonnet to William Bennett. William, do you have your eye on anyone that we saw at the Combine or any name that you've seen so far that's probably going to be gone at 61, but might be there if we moved up into the late 20s?
I would say if I had a name to go with, and it would probably be what is it? Watson?
Christian Watson. Yes, sir.
It would probably be him just because of the familiarity that him and Trey have with playing with each other. And I believe with his size that, and you know how Kyle is, that he can be doing, we can use him in multiple ways.
Yes.
I would not, now don't get me wrong, I am not big for us to trade anything else to get into a first round. I believe that we've done enough for Trey. But if a name that I would say we would go after to do so, that would be it.
I like that one. I fell in love with Christian Watson among some other players being out there at the Combine. Absolutely someone I would be good bringing in. Speaking of bringing in people, we got someone new down in the waiting room, Niner Empire DMV. We are going to add you, and it's going to be St. Patty's Day with a freaking six-pack because that's the way we do things. Oh, the six-pack was too much. It was too much for him. He decided to drop off. So let's go back. Chris, talking about the potential trade back up. Who do you see in that late first round that the Niners might make that splash on?
I was looking at Traylon Burks, wide receiver. I really like his play style. I don't think we'd be able to get quite that far up.
No, he seems like he'll be a top 10 pick from what I'm reading.
But that was kind of my draft crush this year.
That's a good one. And he didn't have a spectacular combine, if I'm remembering it correctly. So he may tumble a little bit, and that would be one of those. I mean, look at DK Metcalf, right? No one would have projected that he would fall as far as he did. So you never know. Some of these physical specimens that people then see as not running the way that they should at the combine, not performing in the drills. He could tumble a little bit. That would be an interesting one. That Niner guy, who you got your eyes set on at the end of the first, if the Niners were to trade up.
I mean, if they're trading up, it's for a position in need.
Yes.
That means so it's probably not wide receiver. Sorry, everyone. Don't shoot me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, how dare you tell us we can't have Christian Watson? We want Christian Watson.
I'm sorry, everyone who wants Christian Watson. I apologize, but it'd probably end up being guard or cornerback. Because
guard does not excite me, but cornerback does.
I mean, like if they trade up and like someone say Linderbaum's there, yeah, you run that pick in. Will he be there? Probably not. I would say like Kendrick Green would probably be the guy then. He's a big athletic guard from A&M. I would say if you get up into the mid 20s somewhere, he's probably still going to be on the board. I would say it's probably that because now you got a cost controlled offensive lineman for the next 4 years.
I like that. I certainly would be okay. It wouldn't be a splashy necessarily. Like you'd have a lot of groans and whatnot from 49ers Twitter, but it would fill a need, and that would be critical for the 49ers. So I'm on board with that. Sean, do you have your eye on anybody late in that first round that we might scoop up?
Yeah, I don't want to be ignorant. I have not had time to dive into all of the draft process, so I'm not that guy that's going to sit here and spit a name I heard on TV and just trust he's good. But I'm going to say that mainly because it ain't happening. We need all those compensatories. We need all those picks. We need to hit this draft legit.
Cheap bodies.
There's a lot of good players. There's a lot of good players from 60 to 100. And I just hope they can maximize that group and really do their due diligence and put some guys on here to compete for starting spots. I hope they're linemen, and I hope because here's the thing, right? Everyone wants a receiver. Trey ain't going to have any time to throw to his ass on those long routes if you can't protect.
Yeah, you got to give him time. You got to give him time. That's for sure.
So,
all right. So, I mean, we had reference when I was going to bring in the 6-pack. Randall Riley was all excited that we were going to have Kenny Rogers in the 6-pack. I don't know. As a reference, I'm guessing to the karaoke night. Did you guys hear me singing? You got to know when to hold them. You got to know when to fold them. Yes. I mean, I was feeling myself. I'm not going to lie. I was feeling myself. I haven't gone back to listen to it because I'm afraid that it wasn't in tune. But in my mind, it was spectacular. It was absolutely spectacular. And it would have earned me first prize on one of those game shows that are out there. But
you did far better than I would have done. So I'll give you that.
That's a polite way of a backhanded compliment. I love it. Jaguayo 56 coming in. I'm worried about the loss of Laken Tomlinson. He never was injured, always steady, putting the chips all in on Banks. Jalen Moore, offensive tackle or guard. Cordarrelle Patterson helps special teams. All right, so there's a couple of things loaded in there. One, obviously the loss of Laken. Are we comfortable with just assuming that we're moving on to Aaron Banks? And are we comfortable with the depth throughout the rest of the line? And would you target someone like a Cordarrelle Patterson to fix special teams? I'm going to reverse the order. Sean, you'll be first up on this one. What are your feelings on the loss of Laken and going to Banks, and whether we have the depth and if we need to add to special teams? A couple of questions for you.
No problem. I mean, I have to be, if the word is worried, I'm only going to say, yes, I'm worried because of where we're at in the offseason and where our O-line is as we speak. So I'll say, yes, I'm worried today, but I'm going to trust they have a plan, as that Niner guy said, in place that we just don't know about. So that's where I'm not worried. I'm not worried in that they have a plan, but I'm currently worried based on who's on our roster. Yeah. So that's the answer, that one there. Putting all our chips on Banks, I can't say that I'm excited about Banks because I don't have any evidence to be excited about Banks. They never told us or showed us anything to be excited about Banks. I hope Banks is good. He's a second-round pick. I hope he has a great offseason and he does everything they asked him to do. But again, none of us know. He's a ghost to us right now. In regard to special teams, well, yeah, sure, I'll take Cordarrelle Patterson. Does he cost $1.50? Do we get him for free? I mean, at the end of the day, I think they're going to go draft from a special teams perspective because they already signed that linebacker out of Green Bay who admitted when he was introduced, I'm a special teams player. That's where my value is. So hopefully they're bringing in some guys that are veterans that'll be able to teach some of the younger guys, and I hope we get faster on special teams. Because for whatever reason, they have good field position and we don't every time there's a punt or a kickoff.
I am so in love with Marcus Jones in the draft and he's a stud returner. I absolutely want the Niners to draft a returner. So that would be mine on Cordarrelle, but I'm pretty much on board with what you laid out there, Sean. How you feeling about it, that Niner guy?
I mean, no. I mean, I don't know. I mean, listen, like I said earlier, you can find guards. It's not.
Yeah, you're not worried about the lack of depth at guard.
But the issue is Aaron Banks didn't suit up for like 10 games last year. You know, right. he wasn't even on the active roster some weeks. So making that jump to being a starting left guard in the league, that's definitely questionable.
Yes, it's a leap of faith.
Yeah, and you did bring back Brunskill, and we're still not 100% sure, Alex Mack is coming back. Now, yeah, you could move Jalen Moore to right guard, but I think if anything showed us last year, you moved him positions and he looked terrible in Jacksonville, and I felt kind of bad for him. But when he played against Seattle, he actually did a pretty good job of left tackle.
Yeah.
So maybe he was hurt. I don't really know what happened there, but it looked like he maybe regressed. I mean, up to the Niners will have a better understanding of that than I would, but definitely their offensive line, they need to add at least 2 more pieces. I think they need to add a legit right tackle because there's no guarantee Mike McGlinchey's starting week 1.
No,
I think a veteran right tackle is the right move to go, at least as an insurance policy. And then I would say you need to draft either a center or a center who can play guard to give yourself the right depth.
That's what I think is the right move. A center that can play guard. That to me feels like the win and feels like something that can be done in the 3rd round of the draft.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, Donovan West is a guy that I'm pretty locked in on.
I like Cole Strange.
Cole Strange, he's probably going to be end of the 3rd round type of guy. Like, he seems realistic for the comp pick. I don't think he's going to go in the first 2 rounds. He's going to be back end of the 3rd, I think. So that's a realistic option.
I agree.
Yeah.
Love it. Chris, what are you thinking about this question?
Yeah, I think it'd be concerning to put all of our chips into Banks, especially since we haven't seen much of him. He did practice a lot with Trey Lance, so I think he'd be able to know what Trey Lance kind of does, his mobility and all that stuff. But yeah, I don't. Much like what that Niner guy said, I think we do need to bolster the line in the draft or sign somebody from free agency to kind of, solidify that spot. And as far as Cordell Patterson, I'd take him in a heartbeat if the price was, if the price is right, because he can do a lot of what Debo does. And if we can take a little bit off of Debo's plate and keep him fresh as much as possible throughout the year, I think it'll benefit us completely.
There'd be some real value to that, to take away some of those running snaps from those carries from Debo. Totally agree with that. What are your thoughts on it, William? How do you see offensive line depth? Are you at all concerned there? And would you be investing in the return game?
I would. I think I'm gonna agree with Sean. Of course, as a Niners fan, I'm concerned in having Trey back there. Of course, I'm concerned about his protection.
Yes.
But also I'm kind of not. I don't really think it's something we may go for. Not at a high value for that thing. I think we're gonna probably look into free agency and probably get a veteran. Probably nobody super spectacular, but I believe that we coach people up to be stars.
Yes.
And they leave us and get these outrageous contracts. But I believe that's where we're gonna get our backup. Probably it may even be the starter. We just have to see how Banks looks in this offseason, because we, like said, we haven't really seen much of him.
No.
So hopefully, this past season and this off season, he'll come and show us something different than what's been said or known. But yeah, I'm not. I was never really more concerned about Lakin because I didn't think we were gonna keep him. So I knew he was gonna leave. I already knew that. So but yeah, of course I'm concerned about the line, but I think we'll pick up someone in the free agency and coach him up,
but
and
somebody that'll add depth.
And all of a sudden they'll be talking about him like Lakin Tomlinson and everybody else that we've gotten and coached up.
I like it. I tend to think we do better at coaching up on the D line than the O line, but I agree. Lakin is a prime example of someone that did come in underachieving and now just got himself a big bag. What about returner? Are you thinking Cordell Patterson or Ray McLeod, or are you thinking let's do the draft?
I would say it would be nice to get Cordell Patterson, but I think we may pull somebody from the draft. I think we're gonna pull somebody. This was a big draft thing. There was a big draft class for speed. Yes. I mean, a lot of those guys were like 4.3s
for sure.
So, and like I said, the number one way to get a job in the NFL is what? On special teams.
Yes, that is the door. Kick it down and march on in.
So hey, look, I think that's where.
Sorry, go ahead. No, please close that thought out.
I was just going to say, I think that's where we may get that returner at.
I think you're right about that, William, and that's what I'm holding out for. Sean Walker came in, Sneakerhead on the channel. He was going to be the sixth man. He was going to be the six-pack, but he couldn't come in. But Niner Empire DMV, I'll try to join the call when I'm off the road. Great content, Rob. Sean, thank you so much for the donation. I'm sorry that we couldn't get you into the six-pack. We will make it happen in the future. No doubt about it. Even if we get 9 people in there and we all shrink into grains of rice, right? Hey, the voices will be here, and the smaller my face is and the louder that voice is, the better for me. I got the perfect face for radio, let me tell you. And we got another super chat that we're bringing in. Leonidas came in. Great content, Rob and the boys. Much love from San Ho. I think we're talking about San Jose there. Leonidas coming in. a big thank you to both of the super chats for coming in. All right, let's try to get a good topic here that we can close out on. 49er fan since 1946 agrees with me. Marcus Jones should be the returner. I'm telling you, we got to make that happen. Anyone who has an opinion on Marcus Jones is free to weigh in as I read through a couple of these comments in trying to find us one last good topic to hit. That Niner guy, I know you do some draft research. What's your opinion on Marcus Jones? I feel like we've talked about this before, but I've talked about him so much that I forget.
No, I really like Marcus Jones a lot. Now, the knock on him is that he is 5'8".
Right.
But he's a very good athlete.
And just
fast.
had 2 shoulder surgeries because he's 5'8" and he hits.
Yeah, so that's kind of the problem, is a durability problem. He's probably going to fall into day 3. So that's just because of the fact he's had multiple surgeries. He didn't do much of the combine. He did run though, right?
No, he did not. He still had one of his arms in a sling. His left shoulder was still in a sling. He had just gotten the right shoulder done 4 weeks prior to that, and so he did not run. It's going to be all on his pro day.
It's definitely a question mark, but I think overall, he's a good player, but it's definitely injury concern. I wouldn't take him before day 3. And day 3 where the Niners are picking on day 3, because again, he's not exactly a guy who's going to be. You can't really bet on him to be an impact player for 4 years, right? There is some risk there. So
considerable risk.
So if you're taking him before that, little questionable.
Yeah, I tend to agree. That's my fear, is if he runs a sub 4.40, that he then does climb up into the 3rd round. And the fear is the Niners would not expend a 3rd round pick on someone who has a considerable injury history. But if he were to fall to day 3, it does seem like one of those incredible value picks where there's certainly a little bit of risk involved with it, but it could be a big payout for the 49ers if they hit on him and he stays healthy. I really like that one. And it's something I got my eye on. Man, people really were wrapped up in the talk of offensive line. If anybody's got a question on their mind in the panel, hit me up. Let me know, because I'm still looking for that comment to close us out on here. William, I see William. Let's go.
I just wanted to bring up Ward coming to the Niners. I think not only. I just
heard that alert. Somebody got signed right now. I heard the dun-dun-dun. I'm kidding. All right, William, come back in. Keep going.
I think another thing that will benefit us with Ward coming in is he's a man corner. Avery Thomas is a man corner. I think Amory would have been a lot better if we would have had Sherman with the team, but I think the signing of Ward is going to help bring Amory to another level, because they kind of play the same position, and he's going to be able to show him tricks of the trade, things of that nature. So I think it's going to be a better signing than we even assume.
Yeah.
I like this signing, and I like this as the final topic before we sign off, is just general opinions on Charvarius Ward and how the Niners might use him and what type of a fit that is. I liked what Matt Barrows brought to the table, that we could see a repeat of what we did in 2011 with Chris Culliver and goodness gracious, who am I thinking of? We brought him in. What was that?
Was it Rodgers?
Yes, Carlos Rogers. Thank you very much. So it was Carlos Rogers would be on the outside, and then in the nickel packages, Carlos would swim inside to play the nickel, and Chris Culliver would then come in off of the bench and play the outside, where you could see a similar situation. Emmanuel Mosley can play in the slot, and so when you have the nickel coverage come in, E-Man slides inside, Ambry Thomas comes back onto the field. Again, seems like an ideal scenario for me. Chris, general thoughts on Charvarius Ward as we close this thing out?
Honestly, I don't know a lot about him other than watching some of the games from Kansas City, but, he was always in position to make plays. A lot like our Ward, that, he just didn't always finish them, like didn't get the interception, but he's a good tackler.
Great tackler.
I think he'll do really well. I think between him and our other Ward, they'll be great.
Ward squared. That Niner guy, what's your feeling on it? Scheme fit. I know you've touched on this already, but anything new you have to add to the equation?
I would say, something we didn't talk about earlier. I think I talked about, he's going to help on 3rd and long, which is their biggest problem, I feel like, on defense. But the one thing I will say, if you go, I know people are like, oh, Chase cooked him. Okay, well, Chase cooks everybody.
Right?
Yeah.
That's hilarious to me.
He cooked Marlon Humphrey, who is better than Ward by a mile. He's probably the second best corner in the league.
Yeah, there were games where Jerry Rice cooked Deion Sanders, right? I mean, like, that happened. It doesn't mean Deion's not the best cornerback in the league.
Yeah, and if you go back and you watch some of Kansas City's games, and even the Super Bowl, he played pretty well in the Super Bowl against us.
Yes,
it wasn't like he kind of shut down Emmanuel Sanders for the most part. So, I hate to break it to us, but he's a good player, and like if you're upset, I know a lot of Niner fans are still kind of pissed that he's a Chief, and I get that.
Right.
But at the end of the day, he's a Niner now. So now
that's right.
Now he's going to
he's a dog. Tyreek. Like, dude, that press conference, especially at the end where he got that quotable moment that is now flying through Twitter, that was spectacular to me. I think that this is a great sign. The only thing that I have is a little fear of missing out with J.C. Jackson, but I can't completely evaluate that until I see both of the contracts and their actual financial language. Sean, what was your gut about this signing? Did it move the needle for you?
I'm good with it. It just reminds me of last year. He's just our Verrett. Because at the end of the day, we had Mosley on the other side with Verrett. We counted on him being that guy that could play man and would be able to get in your face off the ball. As soon as he got hurt in the first game against Detroit, I agree with that Niner guy. All of a sudden, we couldn't play sticky on them because we had too many young guys coming in. And then Mosley goes down with an injury. So now it's like, forget it. We need to protect them. They're now a liability versus being what we thought was a strength going into the year. So to me, I don't see us coming into this year that much different, except that we hopefully have Thomas taking the next step, whoever he's training with in this offseason, to hopefully come in and honestly push Mosley. Who knows? I don't know how good he's going to be coming into his second year. Is it the slump as a sophomore, or is he going to come in and actually show the Niners, hey, the last 7 games of last year and my experience in the playoffs and big games is going to take him to the next level? That I do hope, but I'm good with it. I like it. He wasn't incredibly expensive, but at the end of the day, I don't hear anything bad about him, and that's what I care about in terms of, oh God, if we're going to pay for somebody, is it baggage too, or is this guy is he a player? And ultimately, I think it's good to have someone in here who was part of the Super Bowl team that beat us, because at the end of the day, he won a Super Bowl. So he also brings that pedigree with him to know what it's like to play in a big game. And we need that on our back end, because really, who do we have back there that's been in that game? Ward. Start's not here. Mosley was a little bit of that piece, but we don't have a lot on the back end that's been a part of a legit run all the way to the end.
Absolutely. And he was healthy, right? You talked about him being similar to Jason Verrett, but he has a clean bill of health and has played most of those games coming up to this season. So I have no problem with it. I wasn't completely caught up with Ward. I had to do my research after the pick, and so I obviously didn't have my eyes on him. There was a little bit of letdown in that. But once I did the research, I felt very confident in it. Well, I know we went long, and it's St. Patty's Day. You guys got to go out and do some celebrating. I got to, I got the green colors on there. Oh, that's right. William, you're on the East Coast. You guys just got, it's freaking almost, 10 o'clock there. Yes, we will make this happen again. I always love the round table. I want to thank each and every one of you for being on. I am going to bring on, we got one last super chat. I'm going to bring it on as soon as I get you guys out to free you from your indentured servitude that we have going on here. The Irish wouldn't like that. So we will definitely continue on with that super chat. Stick around, and I will see all of you hopefully next week again. Thank you so much for being a part of the round table.
Thank you, Rob.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks,
hey,
Rob.
William, cheers. Yes. All right. I will see you gentlemen later. All right. Official BNA Music did come in here with the super chat. FYI, to Jimmy G stands. Keeping Jimmy G means the return of Brian Allen and Josh Norman is on the board. $25 million can go a long way in having a stacked team. So I agree with that. If the 49ers keep that $25 million on the books, that is a problem. I don't think that's going to be the case. I believe that the Niners will still trade Jimmy Garoppolo. I know that I'm in the minority of believing that they'll get some actual value for it. I hope that these dominoes fall tonight and we begin to see some movement, but I do believe that $25 million will be off the books. I don't think the Niners will let him practice. I don't think they want to run the risk of him coming into camp and injuring his knee. And then all of a sudden you are on the hook for $25.5 million and you don't get any starting value out of him. So I do not believe that Jimmy will play another snap for the San Francisco 49ers. I do not believe his $25 million will be on the books this year. And I do believe that they will get back some draft compensation for sending him out. If you are still here and you enjoy the content, hit the like button before you go. I'm going to hit a couple of questions before I go out because I saw a couple that came in. 49ers fan since 1946. What's up with Verrett? He's still out there. I still think there's a high probability that the Niners sign him to a vet minimum 1-year deal. To me, that seems like a great value add. If he gets injured again, a guy like a Josh Norman or someone that you need to fill in for that injured player is still going to be available at that time. I would have my eye on it. Daniel Garcia with a few great names to keep your eyes on. Juju Smith-Schuster. Landry was the one that I didn't pull up in my mind earlier that I would love. Jarvis Landry. He's just a consistent production guy. He's like 85 catches and 1,000 yards year after year after year after year. Collins, Gilmore, Fletcher Cox. I would be good with any of those names. Those are 5 must-watch names. 5 must-watch names. People talking about how great of a show it was. Bryant Culp, thank you very much. 49er fan since 1946. Thank you. Tip of the cap to being in. Very excited to get this thing cooking. All right, it looks like we have answered all of the questions. I appreciate you being here for this long version. Again, before you go, consider hitting the frickin' like button, subscribe, and hit those notification buttons. I will see you tomorrow. I'll be on Grant Cohn's channel at some point, probably 11 a.m. That's our usual time. And Jack Hammer on this program, probably at 3 o'clock, maybe a little bit later. If you want to know the exact time, you can follow me at The Left Shoe or look for the reminder to come up on YouTube if you turn those notifications on. Until then, you know the drill. Until next time, Niner Faithful.